Hello students, good morning. Again we are going ahead with our essay on national prejudices. So far we have read that the writer is talking about these narrow limitations in which we the humans have bound ourselves. Instead of recognizing ourselves with the universal humankind, with this whole universe, we identify ourselves with the narrow boundaries of nations and within the narrow spheres of specific communities. Now let's go ahead. Did these prejudices prevail only among the meanest and lowest of the people? Perhaps they might be excused, as they have few, if any, opportunities of correcting them by reading, traveling, or conversing with foreigners. Now, what he says that this thing that we have divided ourselves, or we have bound ourselves too much with these national identities, with these national boundaries, with these petty communities of ours only. So he says that if this fault, he considers it as a fault, as a drawback of a human being. So he says if these prejudices, if these prepossessions, if these narrow mentalities, if they prevail only among the meanest and lowest of the people, means people who are low in their mental faculties, in their social faculties, or in any way, means who are on the lower ladder, who are on the lower payments of the ladder, they, if this thing prevails among them, perhaps they might be excused. Why? Because they have few, if any, they have very few, very minimum opportunities of correcting themselves by reading, traveling, or conversing with foreigners. He says those people who live a low kind of life, who live a very meager kind of life in which they don't have the opportunity to read books or to read literature or to read various things, or to travel at various places, or to talk with foreigners. These people who don't have any of these opportunities, because we get knowledge, we get to know others how, either by reading or by traveling or by meeting with these people of different countries. But he says those people who live on a lower strata of the society, on a lower payment of the social ladder, those people, as they don't have the opportunity to read or travel or to meet the foreigners, if they possess this kind of prejudices, these kind of prepositions, this kind of national narrow-mindedness, then it can be excused. Why? Because obviously they haven't got the opportunity to correct themselves, to improve themselves. So that's why it might be excused in them. But the misfortune is that they infect the minds and influence the conduct even of our gentlemen. But he says, what is the worst thing? What is the misfortune of we human beings? What is the misfortune of this universe? What is the misfortune of mankind? Is this, that these prejudices, these prepossessions, these narrow mentalities, they infect even those people who are called as gentlemen. This is the misfortune, that they infect even the minds and the conduct of our gentlemen. Now, here I would like to say one thing, that there is a bit of difference in man and gentleman. Like, we nowadays we use the salutation as sir for each and everybody generally, but in earlier days you might have heard that that politician or that person was given the title of sir. It was a title which used to be given to the gentlemen only. So, gentlemen are those upper class people who uh, fulfill certain fixed norms of civility, and they are then recognized as gentlemen only. So, he says that the thing which I am worrying, or the thing which we all should worry, is what? That these national prejudices has infected even the minds of our most learned people, our gentlemen. Of those, I mean, who have every title to this appellation, but an exemption from prejudice, which, however, in my opinion, ought to be regarded as a characteristic mark of a gentleman. He says that those people who have every title to this appellation, who has every qualities, who have got every required conduct, habit, or mannerism, which gives them this title to be called as a gentleman. So he says, I mean, that they have every title, they have got every right to be called as gentlemen, but an exemption from prejudice, which, however, in my opinion, ought to be regarded as the characteristical mark of a gentleman. And he says, but what they have got? They have got every right to be called as a gentleman, but still, they don't have one virtue in them, they don't have one quality in them. And what is that? That is that they are not exempted from prejudice, they are full of prejudice. And if that is so, then I must say that that should be, that if a person is not devoid of prejudice, a person should have avoided national prejudices, then only he has the right to be regarded as a true gentleman. He said, I think, what I believe is this, in my opinion, this should be regarded as the characteristic, as the one and only feature to decide whether a person is to be called a gentleman or not. He says that what I believe, what is my opinion, that a person who is called as a gentleman, he must be devoid of these national prejudices. Only then he happens to be eligible for this title. For let a man's birth be ever so high, his station ever so exalted, or his fortune ever so large, yet if he is not free from national and other prejudices, I should make bold to tell him that he had a low and vulgar mind, and had no just claim to the character of a gentleman. So the writer, he says, as far as I am concerned, if someone asks this to me, then I must say this thing, what? That even if a person have been born in a very high family, he belongs to some royal family, he belongs to a very rich family, he belongs to a very reputed family, he has a very big fortune, means he has a very large property, he has a very large amount of money for him, he holds a very high station in our society, but still, if he is not free from these national and other prejudices, then what I say, I am bold enough to tell him that he doesn't have the right to call himself a gentleman, and he has a very low and very vulgar kind of mind, in which he has these mean thoughts, he has these mean mentalities, he has this mean prejudices. So, this is what he says, that if a person, even if he belongs to a very rich family, even if he has a very large fortune to his name, even he holds a very high status in the society, but still, if he is not free from these prejudices, these national prepossessions, these narrow minded mentalities, then I am bold enough to tell this thing to him, that no, you are not a gentleman. Why? Because you have a very low and vulgar mind. So this is what the writer Goldsmith defines a gentleman. That the first and foremost quality of a gentleman which should decide a person's character to be worthy of calling a gentleman or not, must be the quality that he should be free from these prejudices. And in fact, you will always find that those are most apt to boast of national merit who have little or no merit of their own to depend on, than which, to be sure, nothing is more natural. So now he gives another region. Sometimes we do this thing to the children, that or to anybody. We do some praise, we establish some norms, and if they don't follow them, then we give them negative feedback so that they might feel like doing that. So this is what the writer is doing right at the moment. He says, and in fact, you will always find that those people who are most apt to boast of national merit are those people who have little or no merit of their own to depend on. Understand what he is saying? He says that a person who doesn't have any merit in himself, any quality in himself, any ability in himself to exalt himself, to raise himself above the levels of supremacy, above the levels of normal life, then he resorts to these national prejudices. है ना? यानी एक आदमी जिसमें खुद के चरित्र में, खुद की विशेषताओं में या खुद के व्यक्तित्व में जब ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता जिससे वो अपने आप को सुपीरियर शो कर सके, जिससे वो अपने आप को साधारण से ऊपर दिखा सके, देन ही रिसोर्ट्स टू दीज नेशनल प्रेजुडिसेस. तब वो क्या करता है? तब वो इन नेशनल प्रेजुडिसेस का सहारा लेता है और अदर प्रेजुडिसेस का सहारा लेता है कि दैट आई एम बेटर. वाई? बिकॉज आई एम एन इंग्लिश मैन. मैं बेहतर हूँ किस लिए? क्योंकि मैं एक इंग्लिश मैन हूँ. बट दैट इज नॉट द मार्क ऑफ being better. This is what the writer is saying, that generally those people who doesn't have any better qualities in themselves, they resort to these qualities, these national prejudices as a backup to show themselves as superior. And in fact, you will always find that those are most apt to boast of national merit and who have little or no merit of their own to depend on, than which, to be sure, nothing is more natural. And he says, in this thing, means if you resort to these national prejudices or national mentalities or national symbols to show your superiority, then it is not a natural ability. It is not something natural to enhance or to show your character on superior levels. The slender vine twists around the sturdy oak for no other reason in the world but because it has not strength sufficient to support itself. Now he gives a very brilliant example, a very great example to support his viewpoint. What he says, that a vine, एक बेल जो होती है, आपने देखी ना बेल, हमारे यहाँ खेतों में कई तरह की बेल हम उगाते हैं. So he says that a vine, it always move round and round the stem of the oak. ओक का जो पेड़ होता है, उसका जो तना होता है, उसके सहारे सहारे वो चढ़ती. वाई? Because he says everyone knows this thing in the world, that there is no other reason for the vine to take help of the oak stem than because it has no strength sufficient to support itself. The persons, the people who don't have enough strength of character, enough qualities of their own to raise themselves above the normal level, they took shelter or they took help of these national prejudices. So this is it for the day. We will finish it in the next lecture. Thank you.